I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. Joy is the key. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. Dream big. I can do it. Dream big. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. Joy, joy, joy. It's all there for me. Joy, joy, joy. Joy is the key. Joy is the key. Joy is the key. Joy is the key. I can do it.
Hello. Hello. Oh, hello. What? Okay, cut it out. That's good. Stop. Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. That's so nice. Okay, cut it out. Okay. Stop. Hi. You guys are crammed in here like sardines, aren't you? Okay. How many of you are here for the first time? Is that right? Well, here's what's going to happen. Nobody knows. We don't really know. It's always good. I know that. So Abraham will just begin. They'll just kind of warm you up, or at least I think that's what they're doing. I don't really know that either. And then they'll ask you what you want to talk about, and just raise your hand, and they'll choose one of you. And if you just come up the steps and sit in the hot seat. This is the first piece of furniture Jerry and I bought 100 years ago. Seriously. I remember finding it in this little shop, and Jerry said, well, yeah, that's weird enough. And that was before Abraham. He was talking about me. Just me. So anyway, and then Abraham will set the microphone right in your face. Or maybe it's Jerry. I'm not sure who's doing this. Yeah. Let's hold that thought. I like that. So, and then off we'll go. So it's going to be fun. See ya. My work here is done. Good morning.
Good morning.
We are extremely pleased that you are here. Truly. It is good to come together for the purpose of co-creating. Do you agree?
Yes.
You're knowing what you are wanting?
Yes.
Liar. Well, it changes fast, doesn't it?
Yes.
Life just dishes up more clarity about what you want moment by moment by moment by moment. So that's really not the best question because, of course, new desire is coming all the time and mostly you don't really know it. Because mostly you're not really keeping up to speed with the new desire as fast as it's hatched. Did you follow that? Contrast helps you to ask for something more, but you are usually, rarely, a vibrational match to the new desire in the moment that you ask for. There's a vibrational variance between this new preference and where you are standing vibrationally. Do you understand that? If you do, then we're off and running. Because we're talking about vibrational variances. And if you are understanding first that you are a vibrational being and that there is a vibrational relationship between you and what you are perceiving right here and now, and that expanded version of you, which is the part of you that includes that newly hatched desire, if you understand that there is this vibrational variance or not. Now, if there's no vibrational variance, in other words, if you want something, if you hold a desire for something, and even though it has not yet manifested, oh, let's start in a new place. If you desire something that has manifested, oh, did that twist your brain into a knot? If you desire something that has manifested, there are plenty of things like that in your life, aren't there? Things that you desire, that you understand, that you know. There is no vibrational variance between this that you desire and your now recognition of it. That is a good place to start, isn't it? But what about those things that you want that have not yet manifested? And what we want to help you to understand is that even though you haven't realized them in the fullest sense and in the sense you want, in other words, even though they haven't manifested, they haven't actualized, they haven't materialized, they haven't demonstrated themselves to you in the fullest way that you want so that you can see it and hear it and smell it and taste it and touch it, even though it's not all happening just like that for you, still, it is a desire that does exist, and you do own it vibrationally if you could just let yourself know that. And by that we mean if you are not discouraged about what hasn't demonstrated itself fully, if you want it and feel good about wanting it, that's the other way of saying it. If you desire it and the desire feels good to you while you are desiring it, then there's no vibrational variance. And when there's no vibrational variance, new words we haven't said to you before, do you like them? No vibrational variance, when there's no vibrational gap between your newly hatched desires or your oldly hatched desires and where you stand, when there's no variance, then there's no resistance. And since there is a path of no resistance, now you must realize it. We want to talk about how fun it is along the path, even when there is a little resistance. Because sometimes going down a path that has some resistance also brings more clarification about what you want. How are you going to know what you want if you don't have some variety in your experience? So we think that what's freaking you out, it does freak you out. We think that what's freaking you out about things that you desire that have not shown up fully in your experience is that you continue to be a vibrational variance to them, and that's the freak out. Everything that you want is because you think you will feel better in the having of it. Whether it's a material object or a pile of money or a relationship, a circumstance, an event, doesn't matter what it is. Everything that you want is because you believe you will feel better in the having of it. And as we are together today, and before you leave, we would like you to really come to realize that the having of it can happen immediately, the vibrational having of it. Now, we know that's so annoying. You want the money in your bank and the lover in your bed and blah, 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 blah. We know. You want the materialization of it. But we want you to understand that if you can, just for a little while, focus upon the vibrational nature of your being, and just for a little while, use the emotional guidance system that you were born with that is explicitly about understanding that vibrational variance or absence of it. In other words, are you in alignment with what you're asking for, or are you in resistance to what you're asking for? So as you begin to consciously pay attention to how you are feeling, and you begin to deliberately offer your thoughts with the intention of soothing that gap, of soothing that resistance, of allowing yourself to be a vibrational match to what you're asking for, as you begin to just focus a little more precisely, it's our promise to you that you will begin to feel a whole lot better. And on the heels of feeling a whole lot better, on the close heels of feeling a whole lot better, consistently better, all kinds of demonstrations that you're on the right path meaning the path to what you are desiring. Demonstrations to let you know that, and manifestations that are evidence of you and what you want being in the same vibrational place and therefore being in the same manifested place. You can't be a vibrational variance and get it. It's just that simple. So recently, in one of the seminars, we made a statement that you inspired from us that said, when you don't say what you mean, the universe knows what you mean. So let's say that you are upset about something, but you're pretending that you are not. So you have a smile on your face, and you're using those nice words, but you don't mean what you're saying. Well, the universe hears what you mean and responds to what you mean. So some have said, fake it until you make it. And we say, nice try. Because what you mean is what you mean, and what you mean is how you feel. So if you feel uncomfortable about something, you have to be the soother of that discomfort. You have to be the soother of that discomfort. And that's such an interesting thing, because you are surrounded by so many annoying people who, if they would just behave better, you would feel better. We know that's what you think. But we want you to begin now to take complete responsibility for the way you feel and let all of them off the hook for a few reasons, but this is the most important one. You can't control them. And when you try, you just mess your life up. And you teach yourself something over and over again. You try something that doesn't work over and over again until you begin to feel unworthy because what you want doesn't come, or defeated because it's harder than it ought to be. And so today, we want to help you to come into awareness first, and you're so close to being there, in many cases already there, that it's going to be an easy conversation. Awareness of what you're doing vibrationally. And then we'll just talk for all of the time that we are together about ways, and you will help us demonstrate how to come into more steady vibration alignment with who you are. We have just a couple of things that we want to say to you, just as a sort of basis so that we all get off on the same vibrational wavelength. First, you are vibration. We've already talked about that. Next, you are always emitting a signal. So you're always transmitting a signal that law of attraction is responding to. Law of attraction is bringing to you thoughts and experiences that match the signal that you're offering. And as you're moving through your days, even though there are a lot of different subjects, you don't vary that much on the signal that you're offering. Because how you feel is pretty much how you feel. Now, we know you have highs and lows and ups and downs. You're all sort of bipolar. You are. You are. Because you are sometimes in complete alignment with who you are and feeling your empowerment, which means you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on, you're full of enthusiasm. You just want to talk, you just want to share, you just want to move, you just want to exhibit the happiness that you feel, and sometimes not so much. And the reason that sometimes not so much is because sometimes you get focused upon things that you've been focused upon before that have a sort of strong attraction power. So you can be up and down and up and down and up and down many times during a day. You just usually aren't that up and down. It's sort of, the tone of the day is sort of usually what goes through the day. You say, oh, this has been a bad day, or I've got out of bed on the wrong side, or I'm off on the wrong foot. So we really want to talk about, and we will with you all the hours that we are together, we want to talk about setting that vibrational tone. And after we tell you a couple of stories that will help you to understand why that's so important, then we'll just move forward into the things that you specifically want to talk about. So, you were source energy before you came into this physical body. Some of you are understanding that. Do you know that? And even though you were that then, and then you came into this body, you still are that now, even though you're in this body. In other words, there is a non-physical counterpart to you, a balanced counterpart. It's this pure positive energy you that every time you sift through the desired by you contrast in your time-space reality, you launch a preference. We call them rockets of desires because they move outward from you. You project them, you emit them, you transmit them. And when you transmit that signal of desire, this non-physical part of you immediately becomes a vibrational equivalent of that new amended you that just happened because of this expansion that just took place. Which means every time you emit a new desire, there is now a potential of you being split from it, of you having split energy, because you just became something more vibrationally that you're not physically, in terms of your now personality, up to speed with. And that we just explained to you right there is the reason for literally every emotion that you feel. Because when you've become something that you're not up to speed with, you feel that difference. As you come to be up to speed with it, then you feel the ease and clarity that comes from that. So all day long, you are in varying degrees in alignment or not, in allowance or not, of that furthest expanded part of you. And nothing else is important for you to ever understand about anything. Because you came to be the creator of your own experience. And you are that all day long. And you are launching these rockets, and the larger part of you is becoming them, and holding the signal of that new expanded you with such clarity, with such brilliance, with such high-powered wattage of vibrational output, that you can feel in every moment your vibrational relationship to that. It's just that simple. Now we know for some of you, if it's new in hearing that's sort of a boring, maybe even hard concept to get your thoughts around, but we promise by the time that we are at the ending today, you will understand that fully. Because nothing matters more than that you are moving in the direction of that which you have become. You don't have to be up to speed with it completely. You don't have to know it, because in the moment you know it, it's manifested, and there's a whole lot of fun on the journey. So we're not talking about closing the gap and standing there in a closed gap, because you were born into an experience where you intended to have plenty of step one moments where contrast causes you to ask. So you're going to ask all day, and you're going to have gaps always between who you have become and what you are allowing yourself to be. We're not talking about getting rid of that gap. We're asking you to manage it. We're asking you to enjoy the vibrational ride of moving in the direction of what you've become instead of moving in opposition to what you've become. That's all. Because there's always going to be a new desire. There's always going to be a new journey. There's always going to be more that you are on your way to allowing yourself to manifest fully. So we don't want you to be tentative and guarded about trying to control your thoughts. We want you to think clearly. We just want you to gently and often guide your thoughts in the direction of what feels good to you, because when you guide your thoughts in the direction of what feels good to you, now you are on your path, now you feel good, now all is well. And did we say it's an eternal path? Did we say that it never ends? Did we say you never get it done and you can't get it wrong? Well, we want to say it's an eternal path. You never get it done, and you can't get it wrong either. You can't get it wrong. You can feel crappy. That's Esther's word. It says so much about so many things. You can feel bad, but you can't get it wrong, because it's never done. Because in every one of those bad feeling moments, you're launching rockets and you've evolved to more. But what if you're on a path where you don't know this stuff, or you're not applying it very well, and so you're launching a rocket and not keeping up with it, and so you don't feel so good. And so then you're moving through more contrast and launching another rocket and not keeping up with it, so you don't feel so good. Can you see how continuing to ask and not move in the direction of is what makes you feel uncomfortable? So stop it. We have one small story to tell you, and we think it lays the basis of everything that we're going to be talking today really well for you. So imagine that you are standing here as your point of attraction, and that law of attraction is going to help you rendezvous with everything that is vibrationally active within you. So it's like there's a pipeline between you and what you've been thinking about, wanted and unwanted. So we call this pipeline the path of least resistance, because as you think about it, you offer a thought that opens the pipeline. A thought that you hold for as little as 17 seconds is powerful enough. But once you cross the 17-second mark, we're not kidding you. This is precise. Another thought like it joins it. That thought's more powerful. So the path of least resistance between you and what you're thinking about is that much more. By the time you hold it for another 17 and then another 17, so you cross the 68-second mark, that path of least resistance is significant enough that there is going to be some demonstration to you, if you're aware. The demonstration will come, you might miss it, but there's going to be some demonstration of the pathway you've laid. So Esther has some beautiful water features in Texas. It's at the Abraham Hicks Center, and there's a headwater and a little stream, and it comes down some rapids and falls into a bigger pond. And the stream was getting cloudy, and so it was finally determined, after trying a lot of different things, that the pipes that were putting the water back in, first pipes take it into the filter filters it and aerates it and puts it back into the stream. And those coming back in pipes were clogged. So the stream was cloudy, couldn't see the fish. So they just laid some new pipes. Didn't dig the old ones up, they were buried really deep. Just laid some new pipes, didn't bury them quite as deep. And now the pond is clear again. So we began saying to our friends, you friends, you may have some clogged pipes. Because if you're asking for things that aren't coming, it may be that you've got some clogged pipes. So it was a sort of fun analogy to play with. Let's get those pipes open. And the better you feel, the more your pipes are open. But then later, the analogy began to evolve. And Esther heard us say, as she's listening back on one of the recordings, that those pipes closed up from neglect. And something about that just jumped out to her. And so she sat and wrote with us. She's working on a new book. We are writing it. It's called The Grid, which really is the label that we're giving to what your point of attraction is. What are you doing? It's like a grid or a framework that's filling in with the details. But what are you vibrationally building? What grid have you established that is filling in with all of the details? And so, as Esther is thinking about these pipes that have clogged up with neglect, we said to her, there are things that you have opened a path of least resistance to that you don't want to rendezvous with. So why not let those pipes close up from neglect, lack of attention? And there are those things that you really want to establish a pathway to, a path of least resistance to. So why not keep those pipes open by attention? So we just want to say to you, in the simplest way, you heard that so completely, that any time you're opening a path that's leading to something that you do not want, every time, no exceptions, you feel negative emotion. And every time you're opening a path that's leading you to something you do want, every single time, no exception, you feel positive emotion. We have enjoyed this interaction immensely. There isn't anything you need to know. If you are accepting that you are a vibrational being, and most of you are, there's not a shred of evidence to the contrary of anything that we speak, so accept it. Oh, that doesn't work, does it? Life will show you. Life will show you. So if you accept that you're a vibrational being, and if you accept that you're constantly emitting these vibrations, and that these vibrations, which are the same thing as your thoughts or your interest, past, present, or future, whether you're observing it or imagining it or remembering it, you're thinking about it. And if you're doing any of those things, you're offering a vibration, and if you're offering a vibration, then you're carving out a path of least resistance. So we began explaining to Esther that you've got 17 seconds to go down the wrong path a little bit. You've got 17 seconds before that momentum gets going or before you reinitiate it again today, because you know what? And this is the most important thing. The paths that you've carved out before are irrelevant today. They're just easier to carve out today if you've carved them out before. But they're really irrelevant. In other words, it's today where all of your power is. So it's your propensity to lean in a direction of wanted or unwanted. It's your propensity to feel negative or positive. It's your propensity. Your mood is a propensity. It's not something that's stuck in your vibrational craw. It's not something that has been memorized that you can't get around. You are free to reset the button anytime. So Esther was talking to a friend the other day, and she said, I have something to tell you, but I only have 17 seconds to do it in. And we said, well, you've captured the spirit of what we've been talking about to some extent, but that wasn't exactly what we had in mind. Because we think if you're wise enough to know you're headed down the wrong path, you're wise enough to keep your mouth shut. We mean that in the most loving way. In other words, if you don't talk about it, you're going to shorten the path or just let it clog up from neglect. So we are eager to talk with you about anything that matters to you. Don't worry about us. We will wedge our message in the crack. And we will be mindful of where you are, and it will be our powerful desire to help you to open the pathway to the things you want. And we won't be really eager about helping you continue to focus on unwanted things, because after all, it's really a simple process, isn't it? Isn't it? Doesn't it feel simpler to you than it ever has before? Do you have to monitor your thoughts? That'll make you nuts. Just pay attention to the way you feel. And the more you feel good, the more aware you will be when you don't feel good. In other words, it's finding moments of non-resistance. That's what meditation does for you. When you meditate, you quiet your mind. When you quiet your mind, you stop thought. When you stop thought, there's no resistance. So if you meditate for 15 or 20 minutes every day, you'll be more aware of any thoughts that don't feel good. You'll also be more aware of the thoughts that do feel good. So, what do you want to talk about? We're eager to talk with you about anything that is important to you right here.